Amazon owes you lots of money. Most brands have no idea how much. We sold $63 million last year and recovered $1.6 million in reimbursements from one account alone. Amazon would have paid us way less without the audits I'm about to walk you through. For every million in Amazon revenue, you should expect $20,000 to $30,000 back per year. I'll cover the 3 reimbursements category where Amazon owes you money and how to get every dollar back that you're owed. At the end, I'll share how Amazon quietly takes some of it back. In 1 week, actually, they pulled $48,000 back. I'm Jasim, Eisa, CEO and founder of Voadera. We've sold hundreds of millions of dollars on Amazon and other marketplaces, and we've been fighting them for reimbursements over the past decade. The first category, and it's the largest one, is lost inventory. This happens in a few places. Basically, inventory that Amazon loses for you. It happens as the most common scenario of this happening is when you're sending Amazon to inventory to an Amazon fulfillment center or FBA. From your warehouse to their warehouse, it gets lost basically, and Amazon doesn't receive the entire inventory. But it also happens in other instances. For example, while it's at an FBA center, it gets lost. Or while shipping it to AWD, it could get lost in that process, or could get lost going from AWD to an FBA fulfillment center. And also, another one is, although less common, it gets lost going from an FBA fulfillment center to the customer themselves. The most common, as I mentioned, is going from your warehouse to Amazon's warehouse. This is actually the largest bucket. We've recovered hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think just last month, this was like $40,000 to $50,000 in reimbursements on just from our warehouse to Amazon's warehouse on its own. So the way you can check it, the simplest way is you can just go to inventory and shipments, and you can see what it looks like. Within that, you can see how much you shipped in, how much Amazon received, open a claim for the discrepancy. A way to check on reimbursements in general, and the most helpful report is going to be an inventory ledger report. You can go to Seller Assistant, Amazon Seller Assistant, or even Google. Just type in inventory ledger report. That shows you the inventory movement, where everything went, and then you cross-reference that against like receiving inventory report, against customer return. Again, when we're selling approximately, like I said, for us, we sold 1 million units last year. It's tough to check every instance on its own. So our team, we have a team of 4 or 5 people on reimbursements doing this in bulk, but there's simpler ways to do it. Right now, we even have an ERP that's connected to it that does the cross-reference checks and submits a claim, and it's automated, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. If you have less velocity, you're only shipping a container a month, you can see what happened there specifically. What does that look like? But you have to make sure that you are opening that claim, you're fighting Amazon for it, and you're seeing what gets lost. So this is something to kind of check for your team is, are you guys cross-referencing what you ship to Amazon, what's there? Or what's get lost in inventory? That's where you look at the inventory ledger, what gets lost at their warehouse, because you can see the activity. And for that activity, did you check if Amazon gave you reimbursement by going to the reimbursement report? Now they actually made another newer tab. It's inventory defects and reimbursements that I'll jump into a little bit more later, but you can also see it there. So the 2 most important reports in inventory is the inventory ledger and the inventory defects and reimbursements. But in this video generally, and I want to point out a few things before we jump into the next one, but in this video, I'm not going to get into technicalities. At the end, I'll link a video where I jump into technical reports, each vertical, what it means, what it indicates. I did an overview of that around 6-7 months ago that I'll link at the end. I just want to do a general overview here on the overall process and the architecture of what we're doing. I also wanted to point another very important thing is now a lot of people, they put their foot off the gas thinking Amazon gives reimbursements. In March 2025, they did automatic reimbursements. And yes, that's true. They've become much better automatic reimbursements. But I would say we're still out of the 1.6, I would say 30% of that or 40% of that, we're still having to claw back manually. So let's just say you're a brand selling 5 million. You should expect anywhere from, we said that 2 to 3%, so 100 to 150,000. Amazon's probably going to give you 80, 90,000 automatically. You still have to fight for the rest. And one of the most common areas that you have to fight for is within the manage your sourcing cost. This is where Amazon's putting in your cost. This is where you have to fight Amazon to put in the right cost. So understanding the value. Again, you can see this in the inventory defects and reimbursements. If you go to FBA inventory, and then within I'm just visualizing in my head, you go to inventory, and then you go to manage FBA reimburse, or you go to FBA inventory, and then inventory defects and reimbursements. The last one, it has a new badge next to it right now. You can see the managed sourcing cost, and you have to fight Amazon to go over. And the reason that I'm not doing walkthroughs is Amazon changes its portal very frequently. I want to stick to the primary evergreen premises within this video that are truly going to move your brand forward and get you extra margin. So that's another area or bucket you can see things in. And also another very important factor is that all of these reimbursement types have specific windows that you're able to make claims for. So for example, lost inbound, you maybe have 69 of these. They changed this again last year. They reduced it. So you want to make sure that you're not expiring. You're checking continuously. Again, we have a team of 3-4 people checking every single day. But that's where you can leverage other softwares or services to look through that for you. The point is you want to make sure that you don't expire and you're not unable to claim it back. The second category is customer returns. And this lives in two areas primarily. The first one is the customer submits a return request, but they never return the item because Amazon refunds them before they return it, right? So sadly, they're disincentivized to return. They get lazy, they forget, or maybe they have bad intentions. The second category is they return an item that is against Amazon terms of service. I'll give a common example. We sell a coffee machine. So one of our partners sells a coffee machine. We basically handle the logistics for them. So what happens, sadly, I'm not going to say it's every day, but it does happen, is that this is a high value item. They order it and they send us the old one that they owed. So they just get refreshed to get new ones. That's maybe a year or two old. Or they send us a cheaper quality brand, a Chinese brand. They order our premium brand, our partner's premium brand. So we get that back. And that's why at our warehouses, and we do this for all partners and all their products, we have 4 or 5 warehouses where we get the items back. We have full-time people just reviewing to make sure that the item we got back is actually legit. Now, if it has slight usage, we clean that up, we revamp it, maybe we can sell it again on Amazon or we sell it on eBay, and that's nothing we can do about that. We have to take the loss there. But if they send us something completely torn apart, or another example is where, again, they're sending us a cheaper brand, we open a case with Amazon. We send a picture, we tell them this is against terms of service, we put the use case as example, the LPN, all that kind of stuff. We give that data to Amazon and we get a refund. This is a huge claim, sadly. I mean, it's 9 to 18 grand for us every single week that we're getting in reimbursements on behalf of our partners, that were just additional margin that if we didn't have the full-time employee in the process, we would have lost. So making sure that, again, that's that process for the returns. But going back to the other one is making sure customers are returning it, is looking at the inventory ledger, looking at the returns claims, looking at these reports in bulk to make sure that you're getting those back. So asking your team, if you do these processes, both of them, making sure customer returns, you're maximizing. It's already a huge loss. You don't want to make it worse. If you're finding this video valuable, make sure to leave a like so other people can find it as well. The third category is damaged items. And this happens either damage going to Amazon, damage at Amazon's facility, or damage going to the customer. And this is another one that you have to keep an eye for. This is a steady drip. It's always happening. Unlike maybe the inbound, the first one that we said loss usually happens when you inbound items, or even for the other one that happens during customer returns, the second one. This one is continuously happening. So you want to make sure you're checking what is damaged, what's returned. Again, a lot of times Amazon's reimbursing you automatically for these to give them credit. This one they're actually really good with. So it's not as much to keep an eye on it. We just double check. We make sure the managed sourcing cost is legit, because we don't want Amazon to reimburse us $15 when you paid $50 for an item. Because back in the day, this is why managed sourcing cost is so important. They used to refund you on the selling price, which is amazing. But now they just refund you on what they think the cost is. So you have to fight Amazon because they often understate it. So you don't have to necessarily fight them for when it happens. You just have to fight them to make sure they have the right cost in there. And then once you establish the right cost, they continuously refund you there. So this one happens, again, fairly seamlessly, happens on their own. We just still double check it, maybe monthly or weekly instead of the other ones, maybe daily, to see why it's happening. We're getting a couple grand from this a week, making sure that we're getting everything we have, whatever is damaged, is all being processed appropriately. And now I'm going to mention actually what I mentioned earlier about the $48,000 in 1 week. And Amazon now has a reimbursement or reversal process. And this is a very important one to keep an eye on, because you don't want it to inflate the numbers. You want to make sure that when Amazon reverses a reimbursement, then one, you got your inventory actually in its place. So what they do is they usually take the money back and give you inventory. But sadly, sometimes you see where they take the money back and they don't give us the inventory. So we have to open a claim with them. So we look at the reimbursement reports. You see whenever they took back, we press on the order ID. We see the inventory we're supposed to receive, and we make sure we actually ingested the inventory. But also the other point is you want to make sure you're deducting it from your overall balance. This is where we had an issue last year. You're like, wow, why do we have 4.5% reimbursements? Usually between 2 and 3%. So like we thought we overdid something, or something went either very good or very bad, right? Because that's like we had a huge leakage, but actually we just didn't deduct the reimbursement reversals. So make sure you're deducting those so you can get back to that 2 to 3% benchmark. Again, it's the benchmark is very much rule of thumb, because just one thing, for example, is Amazon Japan or Amazon Canada or Amazon UK. Now that we're in those, they're much more efficient. We're seeing like a 0.5% because the inventory are less volume, whatever it is. There's just much less reimbursements that exist there. So keep that in mind as you're looking at that benchmark and looking at other stuff. But also keeping in mind what Amazon's reversing. Did they truly reimburse you? Did they give you inventory in spot? Because Amazon can reimburse you in two ways, right? They can reimburse you in cash or in inventory. They take, so if they're, because they find the trailer, let's say an example of what this happened, you send a trailer, they lost it, but then 3-4 months later, it sucks because now you may be out of season, but it is what it is. That's how they work. They find the trailer, they take back the money, and they give you back the inventory. You want to make sure you're getting back the inventory. You want to make sure you're looking at that. So if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe for more videos. Watch this video where I go over the technical breakdown of reimbursements, or you can check out this one where I go over Amazon's hidden fees and more of this type, more of the type of stuff that they do here.